Hi, everybody. Well, often there are people late getting back to a cruise, right? It happens. Your car breaks down, your tour breaks down, or you mistrack your time. You think you have more time than you did. You're just not paying attention. Lots of stuff can happen. And usually people are pretty, sorry guys, sorry everybody, when you're getting back to the ship kind of thing, right? They know they've done wrong. Well, not this cruiser. So as I was mentioning, I've seen, when one of the things you'd see is people wait sometimes when they say, hey, how come we haven't brought up the gangplanks yet? How come we're not bringing on we might have some pier runners, and people like to, boo and hiss and kind of make fun of people who are pier runners. And I always kind of caution people about that because you don't know the reason, right? I keep bringing up this case of a woman who was about 35 minutes late getting back to the ship. The reason she was late, she had to come back to get the passports and pills and everything for her husband, who was in an accident and in hospital. And so that's why she was late getting back to the ship and had to go, she basically got their passport and turned around and went back to the hospital. But people were booing and hissing her, thinking she was just lazy and late, just not paying attention, spending too much shopping time, that kind of thing. So I always caution people about, be careful when you're doing this, the booze and everything. If people are just walking back like this and they're just strutting like that, or going, hey, they're like, yeah, I know, this guy. Go ahead. It's all in good fun. It's just making jokes about it. Not a problem. In fact, in this incident I'm about to talk to you, there was another couple that actually was late getting back to the port as well on this ship. And they were saying, sorry, everybody, sorry, we really do apologize. And the people who were booing just stopped booing. They just started clapping them. Thank you. All right, get on board. It's all right. Don't worry about it. The next person who showed up, apparently with her date, boyfriend, husband, not sure, but he seems to be out of the picture a little bit. But she arrived about 35 minutes late after they were past the time they were supposed to sail. Not to pass the time you were supposed to be back on board, past the time of sailing. And as people started to cheer and boo, how do I say this? And I can't show you because YouTube won't want me to show you. But let's just say the gesture she did with her fingers towards everybody on the ship is not in terms of keeping with the code of conduct, shall we say. And she started giving the bird to everybody, basically, on the ship as they were cheering. Of course, this just made people boo her even more. And some people now say, hey, because of her conduct, etc., they should never have even allowed her back on the ship. Now, if the ship is there, and the gangplank's still there, and they haven't pulled away, the ship has no choice but to let her on. Unless she did a criminal activity, the ship has no choice but to let her on. She's paid for it. She has a contract. The ship is still there. Yes, she's late, but it's still there. If they, had they started to pull away, that's it. You're gone. She's not getting back on. That's the end of the argument. That's the end of the discussion. Now the discussion comes along did she break, the code of conduct, which you could be fined $500 for breaking the code of conduct. And I guess the argument is she's responding to other people booing her, right? So if everybody on board is booing her, is that also breaking code of conduct? And so her response in breaking code of conduct is just a retaliation. But it has a lot of people rubbed the wrong way. They think that if you're late getting to the cruise, you should have at least a little bit of courtesy to know that you're holding up thousands of other people because you couldn't get back to the ship on time. And they have a point there, right? If, God forbid, I should ever be late getting back to a cruise. 188 cruises Haven't been late yet, knock on wood. But I also normally book through the shore excursions through the cruise line, which means even if I'm late, it's usually would be their fault, and they would get me back onto the ship. The ship would wait for me. So I don't usually go off on excursions off on my own. Very rarely do. I do hop on, hop off buses. I'll wander off the port by myself, but I give myself lots of leeway time to get back. I know things can happen. And so you got to be aware of that. But if I was to ever be late, I would be so embarrassed and so apologetic to everybody that they had to wait for me on the cruise. I am definitely not looking up at everybody and giving them the old middle finger to everybody because I was late. And she certainly didn't seem to be in any hurry to get back on the cruise ship. Now, how would you like to be the person who has to sit at the table and you notice it's the same person? That might be a little awkward. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be the person on the cruise ship that everybody hates. I don't think I want to be that person, but to each their own, I guess. To each their own. I wouldn't do it. Let me know in the comments down below. Would you do it, or would you just try and get on the ship as fast as possible and look as apologetic as you could? That way, nobody's going to hassle you on the ship. And you won't have anybody like Crazy Dawn doing a video about you.